One of the most common questions among men is, does she like me? Or do you think she wants to sleep with me, if we can put it in simple terms? In fact, everyone has asked themselves, or their friends, this simple question, being unsure of whether a woman is sexually interested in you. Perhaps you're feeling this now, or you're texting with a new Tinder date wondering if things will escalate. Well, this video's for you, and we'll uncover 11 signs that a woman is sexually interested in you and what you can do to make things work. But first, we need to understand what the elements of sexual attraction from a female perspective are. What do women find attractive? Perhaps one of the hardest questions ever posed to a man, or even a woman, is what exactly it is that women find attractive when it comes to men and dating. Some believe it's the physical attributes, like how he looks, his style, or even his body type. On the other hand, some others believe that maturity and being emotionally stable is more attractive. To best understand this, you need to know that not all women are the same. Like most humans, women are heavily affected by the environment they grew up in, the friends she has, and the people they idolize. But for the broad majority of women out there, it's unfortunate that emotional power and congruency are not at the top of their list. You see, women want to know what a man can offer them, and this is based on their primal needs for protection and to be provided for. But before you reach this point, it's the outward facade or appearance that catches her eye almost immediately. Women often fixate on a man who takes care of himself, and she might even disregard any of his personality flaws during the honeymoon period. But this is not a true connection, and it's built on a shallow desire for sexual attraction. Yes, no matter how you slice it, the way you look plays a massive role when it comes to sexual attraction, and perhaps your bank balance as well. But if you're not the most attractive guy, you don't need to worry too much, as there are some other signs that women also reveal that show they are sexually attracted to you. Keep in mind that many of these might take longer to reveal themselves, since it's not as pronounced as having actual physical attraction between you and someone. So, whether you are in an established relationship, dating, or perhaps on the prowl for someone you might like, the following signs are some of the most important if you ever want to know if a woman is sexually attracted to you. Number 1. There is sexual tension. The first, and perhaps one of the most important signs, is that of sexual tension. You see, sexual tension is when there's a little frustration between you and someone, which eventually leads to the sexual act, aimed at alleviating all this pressure and creating the long-term connection that we call a relationship. One of the first things you'll notice when it comes to instant attraction is how prevalent this tension is. However, sexual tension doesn't arise by accident, and it's something that you'll need to establish if you want the relationship to progress. Being playful and teasing the other person is one of the best ways to do this. As a man, you need to steer the conversation in this direction and use your wit to create some sexual tension. However, women who find you attractive also have the capability of creating sexual tension, and this will naturally happen from her side as well. She might tease you or play a couple games aimed at turning you on, but she does expect you to do the same to her, as this is what sexual tension is all about. Eventually, you can escalate, and touch can also be established. Once you have decent sexual tension established between the two of you, the relationship should already be progressing to something more fun. Number 2. Powerful eye contact. The eyes are the windows to the soul, and by staring directly into the eyes of a woman, you can notice a lot. If she likes you, you're bound to notice a slight twinkle when she sees you, and she'll always want to maintain eye contact when you speak. You see, eye contact is something women naturally want to avoid in the modern era. Many passive men are unwilling to directly approach a woman and figure out if she likes them or not, and this can be daunting. So, women have learned to avoid prolonged eye contact with men as a way of not having to deal with the passive actions that follow. This means that unless you're in a business meeting or discussing something of importance, eye contact from a woman is one of the most powerful signs when it comes to attraction. You'll notice her staring at your eyes and lips as a way of showing that she's interested, which is where the term hangs on your every word naturally comes from. Keep in mind that women will not hold eye contact for as long as men do, and this is due to the fact that she will get easily intimidated. However, When she looks away and back to you, it's often a sign of submission as well. But we'll get to that a little later on in this video, since submission is a very powerful sign. Having established eye contact with a woman will allow you to see more of her feelings, and since women are highly expressive with their facial gestures, you should be able to discern whether or not she's attracted to you. Number 3. You become a priority in her life. This one is rather self-explanatory, but has a lot to do with how she sees you and what she expects from you in life. You see, every person has 3 lives. These are the private life, public life, and your secret life, which is naturally the most hidden. In fact, many people go through life never revealing their secret lives with their darkest desires and shameful acts. But the private life is just as important. The private life is where we keep some of our hidden personal details, and we only reveal them to those who are the closest to us. Women also work the same way, and if she likes you, she'll want to bring you into her private life and share some of the more unexpected details. This also means that you're now a priority in her life, and if she goes a day without talking to you, it will have a direct impact on her feelings and how her day goes. Once you reach this point of connection, the chances of her liking you increase exponentially, and you're definitely important to her. Now, by itself, it doesn't mean she wants to sleep with you, but you're slowly building in the direction that will be needed for her to eventually like you. By focusing on one of our videos where we explain how to naturally turn a woman on, you can use this to your advantage and things can progress sexually. Number 4. The establishment of touch. Touch is one of the key ingredients for any relationship to progress in a sexual direction. Without touch, the only thing you have will be words, and we all know that words have never gotten the job done as well as physical connection. Whilst touches might start as hugs or even being accidental, it's the frequency of this that slowly escalates, and she becomes more comfortable with you touching her as well. Women tend to slowly rev up the intensity by touching some of the more accepted areas and moving on to something a little more taboo. However, what you're looking to establish is how comfortable she is when you're touching her. You see, women might be in a powerful enough position where they can take the lead to progress things to the bedroom, but it's the man's job to make the moves that ultimately lead to this. So, you want to touch her as well and see how far you can go before she feels uncomfortable. Now, this should be done in a slow process that often moves at the pace of a snail in some situations. But with each move, you can gauge her body language. If she allows you to freely touch her in acceptable areas, she's comfortable being around you, and you can progress the relationship. Number 5. She always looks hot. Let's face it, it takes a lot of effort to always dress up and look your very best. Now, for women, the pressure's much higher, and they have a lot more that needs to be done in order for them to look their very best. For this reason, women generally nitpick the guys they want to dress up for and show their very best side. Not all men are going to be lucky enough to experience this. However, if a woman is highly attracted to you, she is more than likely to always look her best and dress up to the best of her ability. Once you notice she always puts in effort, you have to understand that it's to get your attention. Number 6. She sets up intimate dates. One of the most important signs signaling a woman is ready is when she begins to suggest one date in a more intimate setting. You see, closed and intimate settings are specifically designed to allow for the relationship to escalate, and women know this, which is why they always choose public places for their dates. However, she will eventually be so attracted to you that she begins to crave spending some time alone with you. Once you begin to notice all this alone time, it's a clear sign that perhaps she could be ready. If you happen to spot some of the other signs in this video, you can just double check to confirm. But, as a word of advice, we have to tell you that all this needs to be natural, and you should not try to force anything, or it might not turn out the way you want. Number 7. She talks about intimacy. Perhaps the most powerful sign, which often accompanies many of your conversational dates, is when she begins to talk about these sexual acts. Yes, it might be brief, but just the fact that she's bringing them up should provide you with a decent window to understand where she currently is in this mental situation. Keep in mind that this does not necessarily need to happen in person. With the advent of social media allowing people to voice their opinions and ask questions from a safe distance, she might turn to messaging services. So you might be greeted with a few cute pics, or she might talk about your previous experiences. In fact, she's fishing for information to figure out what kind of lover you are. Once the conversation moves in this kind of direction, it's one of the most powerful signs that she's actually attracted to you. Once this happens, you simply need to roll with the conversation. But it also gives you the opportunity to slip in a couple of suggestions. You see, this type of conversation opens the door to everything. And when you manage to open this door, you're the one who needs to put your foot through the door and make things happen. Number 8. She becomes submissive. With the world being quite tedious to deal with in the modern era, everyone has a couple of barriers built around them, and these barriers create powerful personalities that make people less agreeable with one another. You see, meeting a woman doesn't necessarily mean that she'll be in a feminine frame of mind. In fact, people are guarded, and this means that you're likely to find a woman who's still on guard when it comes to the world around her. But as we mentioned earlier, women have a primal desire to be dominated by their partners, and this means that they'll have to be in a submissive frame of mind. What you're looking for is to establish whether or not she's submissive, which entails you being able to take the lead and being the one to drive the relationship in a specific direction. A submissive woman is more than likely to do things for you. Try to make sure that you're always doing good and looking out for you. But she's also willing to let you take the lead when it comes to the physical things. By noticing a woman is in her submissive frame, you can be sure that she respects you and she's slowly opening herself up for something to happen. Number 9. She teases you. We've mentioned the importance of sexual tension earlier on, but one way women tend to create sexual tension is when they begin to tease you. She might sexually tease you, which is exactly what you're looking for, as this helps to progress the relationship to a more powerful and deeper level as well. Teasing can take place via messaging, or it can happen in person, and it doesn't necessarily have to directly start with something sexual. In fact, she might tease you about something else as a way of establishing how receptive you are to these kinds of things. However, when you notice a woman teasing you, it's perhaps a clear sign of sexual attraction, and you'll need to make something happen from it. Number 10. She tells you she wants you. Now, this one might ruffle a few feathers, but it's important to know that women are also outspoken, and some of them will naturally want to move the relationship into a more sexual direction from the start. One way to know if a woman finds you sexually attractive is quite simple, and if you listen to her, she might tell you this in your face. You see, women are just as turned on as men, with some even speculating that women are more turned on every day. They simply choose not to react to it. But as we all know, primal urges always comes out on top. And if you can manage to establish these primal urges within her, she'll tell you what she wants. The only big problem is that this is often subtle, and many men don't pick up on it. Number 11. She plays games with you. Above all this, you have to expect that her passive-aggressive nature will eventually kick back in, and she'll revert back to testing you. However, this test is not to tell her if she likes you, but to confirm if you're the kind of man that she can sleep with. You might find that she ghosts you or even stops responding. In fact, the hot and cold flips from women are more than enough to drive any man crazy, but this is all part of the plan to help her escalate the relationship into something more. It's fun to see how women reveal if they're ready for you sexually or not. Instead of taking life so seriously, simply sit back and enjoy the ride she's taking you on. However, once you notice this, make sure to check out this next video on how you can actually turn her on yourself.